A hotel in the Swiss Alps.
1954. The guests arrive in unmarked vehicles.
No press.
No cameras.
No record of who attended, until decades later, when classified documents finally surfaced. What happened inside that building shaped the next 50 years of Western history. And nobody voted for it. This wasn't a conspiracy theory. This was the Bilderberg Group.
Real. Documented.
And still meeting every year, behind closed doors, with no official agenda released to the public. 3 organizations. 2 centuries of secret meetings. One pattern that keeps repeating. Tonight we're not dealing in speculation. We're dealing in documented history, the kind that took decades to declassify. The kind they hoped you'd never connect. It starts with a room. It always starts with a room. In 1832, a small group of Yale students formed a society so secretive that its name was never to be spoken outside its walls.
Skull and Bones.
15 members selected per year.
The criteria? Never fully disclosed.
But look at the names that emerged from that room over the next 190 years, and the pattern becomes impossible to ignore. 3 U.S. presidents. Dozens of senators, CIA directors, Supreme Court justices, Fortune 500 CEOs.
All Bones men.
All connected by a single initiation ritual in a windowless room in New Haven, Connecticut. The question isn't whether they know each other. The question is, what did they promise each other inside that room? Now jump forward 100 years.
Different continent. Different war.
Same architecture of secrecy.
1954. Europe is in ruins. America is ascendant.
And someone decides that the most powerful men on both sides of the Atlantic need to start talking, privately, without public record, without democratic oversight. Prince Bernhard of the Netherlands makes the calls. The first Bilderberg meeting begins. The guest list read like a directory of global power.
Rockefellers. Rothschilds. Heads of state.
Central bank governors. Media executives who controlled what millions of people read and believed. And the rule was absolute. Nothing said in that room could ever be reported.
Not then. Not now.
Officially, the agenda doesn't exist. Here's where it stops being abstract. In 1991, a Bilderberg attendee named David Rockefeller wrote in his own memoirs, not leaked, not alleged, published, that he was proud to be part of a group working against the interests of the United States if that meant building a more integrated global structure.
His words. His memoir. Page 405. And it wasn't isolated.
In 1954, the same year Bilderberg launched, the Reese Committee, a U.S. congressional investigation, found evidence that major American foundations were coordinating to alter American life in ways that would make it easier to merge with the Soviet system. That investigation was shut down before it concluded. The chief investigator, Norman Dodd, gave one interview about what he found.
1. Then silence.
The Freemasons are the oldest thread in this story. Documented to the early 1700s in England. At their peak, 14 American presidents were confirmed members. The founding architecture of Washington, D.C. was designed by Freemason architects, on land surveyed by Freemason George Washington himself. This isn't symbolism.
This is structural.
And here's what connects all 3.
Skull and Bones. Bilderberg. The Masons.
Each operates on the same principle: access is the currency.
Not money.
Not power directly. Access to the room where decisions are made before the public ever hears about them. Every member knows something the outside world doesn't. And that asymmetry, that gap in information, is the actual mechanism of influence. The uncomfortable conclusion isn't that these groups control everything. It's simpler than that, and more disturbing. They don't need to control everything. They only need to control the decisions that matter. Energy policy. Currency. Media narratives. Military contracts. Get those 4 right, and everything else follows. The public debates the symptoms. These rooms debate the causes. 200 years. Thousands of meetings. Decisions made in rooms with no windows and no recordings. And the most powerful thing they ever did wasn't a policy, wasn't a war, wasn't a financial collapse. It was convincing the public that rooms like that don't exist. That power is transparent. That history happens by accident.
It doesn't.
There's a second part to this story. The documents that were never meant to be found. The whistleblowers who disappeared. The one meeting that went wrong. That's next. Subscribe, because this channel doesn't deal in theories. It deals in what they tried to bury.